Hey, coaches, it's Dr. J here, and I'm here with Sam Stauffer, the Director of Training at Spartan Race. So what you can expect for the rest of this year, at the end of each quarter, we're going to host these coaches calls. So in an email that I sent out a couple of days ago, I included that schedule of the time and the dates when those would be hosted. I will send it out again as a refresher, so just please mark your calendar. And we're going to use these calls just to try to keep all of our coaches up to date on things that are happening within Spartan training as well as Spartan the race, so that you can really just be on the forefront of everything that's happening within Spartan. Okay, in today's call, we have a number of topics that we're going to cover. First up, I'm going to talk about our Level 2 SGX certification and the obstacle specialist instructor training that kind of comes along with it. I'm also going to talk about the continuing education credits that are going to be due this year to renew your certification for 2020, and also the renewal fee. Okay, and then Sam's going to dive into the program template for this quarter. What you can expect moving forward is that each quarter we're going to put forward an SGX program template that you can use, modify, adjust to use with your clients and your facility. Right. Also, Sam's going to talk a little bit about the coaching zone and coach heats, some content creation opportunities that are on the horizon. We'll also talk a little bit about the SGX wedges. And then in January, we're going to have an education summit. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then finally, the Spartan SGX newsletter that's going to go out to our coaches each quarter as well. All right, so first up, I want to talk about the SGX Level 2 course. So what makes this a little bit unique and different than the Level 1 course that you might have taken online is that we're going to host online weekly meetings where we're going to discuss some research or an article that I sent you in advance and have a good discussion. Right, so we do have these planned meetings, and our next SGX Level 2 workshop is going to go off. Kick off on July 8th, so that's coming up pretty soon. If you're unable to make that, we're going to have another one that's going to kick off in September, and then a third one that's going to kick off in November. So you'll be able to check our website for those dates as well. All right, so the first meeting is really just like an introduction, give all the coaches a chance to kind of meet one another, create a little bit of camaraderie, a little bit of culture. And kind of walk you through the course a little bit, just show you the Docebo learning management system, the different course modules that you'll have to kind of go through. All right, then the following meeting is when we really get into the fun stuff. So what I'll do is I send out an article a week in advance of the actual meeting. And then along with that article, I send along some questions that you can kind of answer. You know, it just needs to be handwritten down. It's not something that I collect or I evaluate. It's just going to be something that we're going to use to help to stimulate a good discussion. Okay, so you read the article, you answer the questions, then we'll meet online and we'll just discuss these articles. So the first one's on running efficiency. I think, you know, as a sport, obstacle racing, one of the keys to being successful is being able to run efficiently. So we have an article that discusses various methods on how to improve running efficiency and what factors kind of contribute to it. Then the third meeting is going to be a discussion on a couple of articles on cardiovascular disease and endurance athletes. There's kind of some emerging evidence that suggests that some aerobic activity is good, but there is eventually a tipping point where it can actually increase mortality in individuals who run an extreme amount. So we'll have an interesting discussion on that. Ketogenic diets is a hot topic, so we have a couple of articles related to that. Cold water immersion, another popular topic. People use it for recovery after exercise. They use it for general health. So we'll have a couple of articles to kind of go along with that. Then the next discussion, meeting 6 on mental toughness. This one's actually going to be a video that I'm going to have you watch and then kind of turn around and reference it to our Spartan virtues and talk about where within that video that we saw some of these virtues being exemplified. So I think you'll find that to be very interesting. And then the final meeting is going to be the wrap-up. I'm going to discuss the final steps in the certification process, and also I'm going to give you folks a chance to bring some research into the discussion as well. I pick these topics, based off of questions that I get and things that I've seen and read that seem relevant and important to obstacle racing. But I do want you guys to be able to share some research that maybe interests you, so that you can share that with the group. Okay. So the really unique aspect is these weekly meetings. And I'm just going to scroll down. Some of this other stuff, it's important, but you can just kind of look at it on your own. But I do want to talk about, the actual course itself. So that, one piece is that we have these discussions. The second piece that you'll need to complete on your own and on your own time is the actual course module. So we have a course module, a lecture on endurance training for obstacle race athletes. We talk about target heart rate training. We talk about ways to measure aerobic capacity and how you can build that endurance training program for the obstacle race athlete. Kind of related to that, we have a SGX obstacle proof warm-up. It includes some running drills to improve running efficiency. Module 3, we get into training for extreme environments. How do you prepare our athletes for the heat, the cold, the altitude, so that ready to optimally perform in those types of environments. Module 5 is our movement assessment and our fitness assessment, so we'll talk about that. Module 6 is about regeneration, so we have other methods to be able to track recovery following training sessions. And then Module 7, we get into some supplements, and we talk about some of the more popular ones that are out there today that are being used by athletes. We dive into the science and the research of it. Are they efficacious? Do they work? Are they safe? So we'll talk about those. And then also, finally, we get into program design for ultra-distance races. So how do we prepare someone for the Ultra Beast, the Hurricane Heats, the Agoge? So we talk about that. And then the last module is our Spartan Obstacle Specialist training. So, this is an opportunity for our level 2 coaches to be able to teach obstacle specialists at their facility. So there's a number of requirements that you will need to have in order to be able to teach this course at your facility. So we cover what those requirements are. We cover how the course needs to be taught, the things that you need to cover so that you're able to teach this course at your facility. We will be, if you pass a level 2 and you become an obstacle specialist instructor and you're running this course at your facility, we will have surveys that we send out to the people that participate, and if on a continual basis we get rave reviews, then it gives you the opportunity to be able to advance and kind of move up in the ranks and be able to teach at some of the on-site races, obstacle specialists that we hold on site at the races. So a pretty good opportunity for you there. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the level 2. So again, that's going to start up on July 8th. In a follow-up email, I'll send along the link in case you want to get registered for that. And the second thing that I wanted to cover is the recertification and the renewal that happens at the end of each year. So basically, on a yearly basis, there is a renewal fee that you need to pay. It's either going to be $95 or $40, depending on when you were certified. And then also every other year, you're going to need to submit continuing education credits. So this year is that every other year that you're going to have to submit some proof of continuing education. So I'll talk a little bit more about this. All right, so first up is the renewal fee. So like I said, every year do have to pay a renewal fee. So anyone that was certified before December 31st in 2018 will have to pay the full renewal fee of $95. Anyone that was certified this year from January 1st up until June 30th, they'll pay a prorated fee of $40 for the year 2020. Anyone certified after July 1st of this year, there is no renewal fee due for 2019, 2020. Won't have to pay it until the end of 2020. All right, and then is the continuing education credit. So I think the renewal year you're going to have to submit proof that you're continuing your education, right? So at the end of this year, you'll get a notification. So this will come out sometime in October, early November at the latest. You'll get an email announcing the renewal period with a link for you to be able to pay your renewal fee and then also to submit these credits. Right? And so the purpose of this is that, I think it's important as a coach to stay current, with any involving knowledge, skills, abilities that might be happening within the profession. That's one thing about exercise and sports science is that things are constantly changing, things are constantly evolving, and I want our coaches to be on the forefront of that. If you have a primary certification through ACSM or the NSCA or NASM, you already have to do this. So any of the credits that you would submit for those organizations, they would count towards our organization as well. So it's not that you have to do anything extra, right? The way that we count credits, so if you attend a conference or a workshop, or if you've done one of our webinars, we consider one contact hour to be one continuing education credit. Okay, so for every hour you get one credit. So if you attended a 2-day conference that was 16 hours, that would be 16 credits. Right? If you do some work on your own, so let's say that you purchased a book, did some other online learning, maybe you're writing some blog articles on your own and doing a little bit of research related to that. It's a little bit different. So for every 2 hours of work that you put towards that, it counts as one continuing education credit. Okay, so we have different categories that allow you to get continuing education credits through a variety of mechanisms so that you can get the complete number that you need. Okay, so for level 1, if you're level 1 certified, if you're certified before 2017, so this is before January 1st, 2017, if you've been certified for more than 24 months, you need the maximum amount of credits, which is going to be 16 credits. Right? And then you can earn those through various categories. I'll talk about these in a second, but it is broken up so that you can earn these credits through different mechanisms. You're not locked down to just getting them through us or getting them through another organization. Right. If you were certified between January 1st, 2017 and June 30th of 2017, you need less credit. So we did prorate this based off of the number of months that you've been certified. So on your SGX Level 1 coaching certificate, there is a date that says that you were certified, and just use that as the date to see in this column, the number of credits that you need to produce. So basically anyone that was certified in 2018 up until the end of this year doesn't have to provide any continuing education credits for this term, but the following one you will need to be able to be required to submit the maximum. Okay, so hopefully that's straightforward and you'll be able to figure that out. If you're a level 2 certified coach, the requirement is a little bit higher. So, it's kind of the same prorated process is used in the same dates, but you do need more credits. So instead of just getting 16 credits, you're going to need to earn 20 credits. So if you're level 2, you don't need to submit credits for both. You just need to submit the credits for just the first one, just for your SGX level 2. So you only need to submit 20. You don't need to submit 20 and 16, just the 20. Okay. And again, this is dependent on when you became certified as a level 2, not when you became certified as a level 1. Okay. All right, and then the next thing is just a different category. So category A is the Spartan CEC. So if you've attended the level 2 course, that counts as 16. If you did obstacle specialist, that counts as 8. Spartan Edge, Spartan Strong, also 8. We don't offer Spartan X anymore, but if you took it within this renewal period, that's worth 8 credits. And then we also have webinars that are worth 1 to 2 credits depending on the length of those webinars. Okay, and again, all of these continuing education credits have earned after you earned your SGX certification. So in other words, if you took the NASM certification leading up to your SGX, then you took your SGX and you got your SGX certification, you can't count that NASM certification as part of your continuing education. It only counts after you have that SGX certification. So we will be checking for the dates of that. All right, category B is attending a conference. So for example, out on the West Coast this week, IDEA is holding Fitness World Conference. So it's a multi-day conference, and they're offering a lot of continuing education opportunities there. So whatever credits they give you, you can count towards this. If you attend the NSCA or ACSM conference, the same deal. The credits that you can earn through that organization will count towards our continuing education. You just need to keep track of it, document it somehow so that you have proof of it. Right. Also, if you're taking some type of university course, you can count that towards it as well. So one university credit equals 6 continuing education credits towards us. So we do recognize that university credit is a little bit more rigorous than attending a conference. So that's why one hour equals 6 continuing education credits. All right, category C, a lot of organizations in their journals will have an article and they'll have some quizzes after it. So you'll be able to, for example, I'm a member of IDEA and the NSCA, and I get their journal. There's an article. At the end of the article, there is a quiz that I can submit and get continuing education credits for. So we'll accept those as well. Category D is personal enrichment. So this is, any work that you do on your own, reading journals, textbooks, other materials. And again, as I mentioned earlier, for every 2 hours of self-study, this counts towards 1 continuing education credit. All right, and then category E is any authorship or volunteerism. So, if you're writing some articles for the Spartan Life or the blog or the SGX newsletter, or you're contributing to Spartan in some way and writing or volunteering at the races, volunteering at the workout tour, you can earn some credits there. Right. I'm just going to scroll back up. I just want to show you that there are maximums for each of these categories. So in other words, if you do a lot of volunteerism, although we appreciate it and do respect that type of work, we can't give you all of your credits for it. We want you to get credits from a variety of sources. I think it's better in terms of education for you to get a lot of experiences, beyond just one type. So that's why we have so many categories for you to, kind of find these different opportunities to earn those credits. But there is a maximum number of credits that you can earn in each of these categories. Okay. And so that's it. I think that's pretty much straightforward. Again, you can look forward to receiving sometime in October an email with a link for you to be able to do this online. It should be pretty seamless and pretty straightforward. I will let you know that when you do complete this form, it's just going to be on like an honor system. You're going to state what activity you did, the number of hours, the number of credits that you think it earned. And what we're going to do is just audit about 20% of the renewals that were submitted. So any work that you did, save proof of it in case you do get audited, so that you can show us that you did, in fact, engage in these types of activities. All right? All right, so that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Sam, and he's going to take it from here. Thanks again, everybody. Aru.
Awesome. So let's jump right into the program. This is the Q3 coaches call, June 19. We'll be doing these quarterly. We're going to start off by refreshing rather, some of the program content that we covered in last quarter's series. We'll jump right in with the programming series of where we have it. We have our 3 SGX phases when it comes to programming, and we do it in a 12-week cycle. So the microcycle will be by 4 weeks, and we're going to have our function, fitness, and performance. So taking a look again at the phase breakdown, phase 1 is function, and we really want to take that phase a little bit more seriously than the other two, as this is the foundation. So we want to make sure that, before we move on to phase 2, the second 4 weeks, and even phase 3, the last 4 weeks, we want to make sure that our clients have a solid base, meaning that, all body weight exercises, the staples like the body weight squat, the body weight push-up, the pull-up, the plank, anything like that should be, pretty close to mastered before we start to load that pattern. Because, over time, if we have a squatting pattern that's just not there, or, the knees constantly cave in, or the hips tuck in, or, the heels are constantly elevating, over time, if we load that pattern and we don't take the time to recorrect that, that's where that injury cycle is going to come into play, and we want to try to avoid that as best as possible. So while these phases are broken out into 4-week increments, 3 days a week, sometimes you'll be spending a little bit more time in phase 1 to make sure that you've mastered the movements, or even if you have to before you load a squatting pattern, just spend a little bit more time on the body weight squats, even though you're advancing some of the other stuff. That's something you're going to want to look at. And again, this is going to come down to the type of assessment tool that you're using, whether that be the functional movement screen, the overhead squat analysis, or any other type of movement assessment out there. You really want to cater your program toward that. So if you find that there's some overactive muscles that are specific to that, those are the ones you really want to target in phase 1. So again, the layout of this is all 3 of these programs is good for basically just to keep it generic, a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. They're good for 4 weeks, and we'll cover the templates here in a few slides. And then after the 4 weeks, you move into phase 2, which is the fitness, a little bit more of the fun stuff. We're going to be focusing on strength related, kind of loading those patterns that we've mastered. And then phase 3 is the last 4 weeks. Again, that's going to be the fun stuff, focusing more on the athletic training, single leg training, a little bit more ballistic. And that's once we've truly mastered each movement and we've loaded them, and then we can have some fun with it. So taking a look at the workouts, these are really designed to be done in about 45 to 60 minutes. And the way they were designed was for small group training. So I think, as we've moved along in this industry, we're starting to find that an hour for one person might be a little bit of overkill. While there are some clients out there that, it makes sense to do one-on-one for 1 hour, for the most part, it's more like an accessory. It's just not necessary. So, these programs were designed to train anywhere from 2 to 3 to 5, up to 5. Anything more than that, I think, is a bit much. But, that 2 to 5 number is comfortable. And that's what these programs are for, so you can literally train up to 5 people. They all have different programs, but you're maximizing your time as a coach, and you're, maximizing the amount of people that you can connect with and touch, which is great. Looking at the program format, you'll notice that we have a bit of a flow to it. And again, it helps with that small group training style. It keeps everybody kind of in the same component. So everybody's going to be doing a similar warm up together. Everybody's going to be doing a similar power development exercise routine together. They may have different exercises, but it's still a power exercise. So it helps you kind of facilitate that workout. But here's how it's broken up. We have our pre-warm up, which is going to be more of the SMR and the diaphragmatic breathing, as well as, depending on the phase, some type of static stretching or active stretching or dynamic stretching. Whereas the warm-up is going to be more digging into that, the mobility section, the dynamic warm-up section, the possibly even ladder drill section, or anything like that, where we're focused on getting the heart rate elevated, getting the body temperature up, and psychologically getting the body ready for a workout. Static stretching, for instance, isn't really going to get you in the mood to go lift some heavy weight or do some power exercises, but a good dynamic warm-up routine will, or a good mobility routine will, because you're doing a little bit extra. And then after that, we dig into our power section, which again is it's a generic flow. So if power development makes more sense for you to do it after this strength section, so be it. Again, it's just a guiding template, but this is just how we have it set up. And specifically why we have power before strength is because we found that power takes maximum effort, and it's hard to do that if you've gone through a full strength routine. You're a little bit more fatigued, and you're just not getting as much benefit out of the power development exercises, especially if you add in the cardio mix. Something to consider with the power section is you really want to be careful how many reps you're associating with it. You'll notice that I have a mid-range rep. Anything lower is probably more ideal, because you want each rep to count maximally. So that means if you're doing, for instance, overhead med ball slams, if it's meant for power development or increasing power, you're probably going to want to do anywhere from 6 to 8, maybe even 10, as long as you can give full maximum output for each repetition. I think where we kind of cross that line into cardiovascular effort is when we start to do reps of anywhere from 12 to 20 or even more, because then you're not necessarily gaining the power benefit as much. You still are, but you're more testing your anaerobic and aerobic capacity. So after power, we have our strength, and that's where we're going to focus on the major movement patterns, the knee dominant movement patterns, the hip dominant movement patterns, some sort of pushing and pulling, and some sort of core work, whether that be anti-rotational or anti-extensional. And then last but not least, although you'll find that this entire program is very, very much endurance based, you're going to have a very heavy emphasis on anaerobic capacity with this, because you're going to be moving through it at a fairly quick pace, and you're going to be challenging that. But at the end, we do have a bit of an endurance cycle, and you can always add to it. So if time allows, or if you want to send your clients out and say, hey, go do a mile jog or anything like that, the program allows for that. Ideally, that would be an off-day program or anything like that. Again, these programs are designed for 3 days a week for the 4 weeks. So they're your core programs, and then in addition to that, you can have more or less. So that's the program as a whole. Again, it comes up here in two pages. It was designed to be pretty economical in that aspect. So essentially, one client would have 3 pieces of paper that would be good for 4 weeks. On the front page, it would have your warm up and your power stuff, and then on the back page, it would have more of the strength stuff. And then we'll dive right into the program right now as it's broken out into the components. First page is going to include your pre-warm-up, your warm-up, and your power development stuff. So if you see this first block here, for phase 1, we do SMR and static stretching. The reason we're doing static stretching again in phase 1 is to get the muscles back to regular extensibility. We're going to be looking at holding those stretches for more of 30 seconds on each side, depending on which stretches you're doing. Again, it's important to understand that whatever type of assessment tool you're using, whether it's the FMS, the overhead squat analysis, or anything out there, that you're catering these toward those overactive or tight muscles. So again, the ones we have in here are pretty much the standards, and I think everybody can benefit from them. But if you find that there's overactive muscles in a certain client, you're going to want to right beside that the specific or add or take away what makes sense for those clients. But again, what we have here is the wall stretch series. So these are actually fun. You let gravity take hold, and it's easier to hold these stretches for 30 seconds because let's face it, stretching is by far the least fun thing that anybody can do. Some people enjoy it. I definitely don't. And I know clients most certainly don't. And it's important that, when you're training somebody that you're there during this phase. I witness a lot of coaches out there who kind of say, all right, go ahead and get warmed up and I'll see you back on the turf. To me, that's a missing crucial piece. You're walking away from something that can make a massive difference in somebody's life and somebody's training routine. So this first section here again is your SMR and your stretching. For phase 2, it's more focused on active stretching. So you're going to lean into that stretch, breathe for 1 or 2 full breaths and then relax. And then phase 3 is going to be focused more on that dynamic stretching routine. Taking a look at the next section, which is directly to the right of it, is your mobility and joint stabilization section. So right after we finish those stretches, we're going to move into more of the dynamic stuff. We're going to focus on mobilizing the joints that to me matter, the ankles, the wrists, the T-spine, the hips, and even the neck. So again, depending on the type of assessment you do, you want to cater it really toward them. As a lot of the cutting edge fitness professionals out there say, these mobility drills kind of open up a window of increased range of motion and allow you to do an exercise better that you may not have been able to do before. And each time you then perform the exercise with that increased range of motion, it's kind of like saving the document, and you're going to get a little inch each time you do it. So again, you want to cater it toward where it really matters. And then you have your joint stabilization or activation section, which is going to be focused on kind of waking those joints up and getting those movements in and turning all those little stabilizers on. And then right below that, after that, we have the workout technically starts. This is where things are going to get a little bit more intense. So you're going to start moving a little bit faster and harder. You have your power and speed section. So for phase 1, you'll see here you got the overhead slam. Again, it's programmed for 10 reps. To me, that I put that in there because I know that some people want a little bit more of a workout, but at the end of the day, 6 to 8 is probably going to be the best. So feel free to change that depending on what you want. I just programmed it in just to get the base going. But again, with this power development section, you really want to make sure that the clients are producing maximum output during each rep, right? So each rep matters. Whereas, with a cardiovascular phase, if you're doing just like 25, med ball slams, it's like, you're just, you're getting your heart rate elevated and you're focusing on endurance. So this is a little bit different. And then that half kneeling rotational toss, which is going to be awesome for some rotational power. And then on page 2, you have your strength and conditioning setup. So it's broken up into trisets. So for this first one, you have your superband deadlift, which is going to be your hip dominant exercise. You have your body weight reverse row, which is going to be your horizontal pulling. And then you have your plank up downs, which is going to be your anti-extension and a little bit of anti-rotation in there. And that's set up for two sets. So again, that's how the template is written, is you have your exercise, and then you have this R and P right beside it, and a line right there. So the R is going to stand for regression, and the P is going to stand for progression. So that's, you as a coach to be able to go in there and say, hey, they're a little bit more advanced than a superband deadlift, or they're not quite at a superband deadlift and I want to put them at a hip lift. You can just go ahead and write that in. And again, that'll be good for the whole 4 weeks. And then, you got, beside that, you have your sets, you have your reps and your weight for recording. I think it's really important to record data. I think you get a little monotonous, and I think, us as coaches, we tend to get a little bit lazy or, lose sight of the value of that. But it's like watching a tree grow. If you watched it every day, you'd never really see it grow. But if you came back every month and you were like, wow, okay, the tree grew. It's kind of what this is. When you record the data, you can go back and say, oh, look, you did. You increased 25 pounds on, your push-up, on what you can do with a weight vest, whereas they may not have been feeling the value. So it's important to be able to go back and do that, and especially from an assessment standpoint. And then the next set of 3, again, is going to be strength specific. So we have our knee dominant in there. We have our push and our anti-rotation, same setup on through. And then last but not least, on this bottom section, this is going to be more focused towards your anaerobic or aerobic capacity. So for this one, it's focused more on anaerobic. You got your bear crawling for 10 yards, you got your bucket carry, and then you got your jump rope. That's meant to be in quick succession of one another, very little rest in between, depending on what type of client you're working with. So again, the cool thing with this program is, one, it's a template for you to use. It's not the end-all be-all, which I think a lot of you guys have already given me the feedback that you understand that and you appreciate it. But the cool thing is that this allows you to run those small group trainings a little bit more effectively, right? Because if you slowly train your clients on how to read these templates and what it means to do a bucket carry, what that 10YD means, what the progression regression means, ideally you'd be able to hand these out to your clients, if you had 5 people in a small group for that hour, and then you'd be able to do what you do best in coach, right? So you have Becky over there doing her overhead med ball slams, everybody's kind of moving through the program at the same pace. So it's kind of chunked in that way. So you're with them during the warm-up, and they may be doing different warm-up exercises, but it's all like the same component, if that makes sense. And same with strength. Although we're all in the strength phase, you might be doing a goblet squat, but your client over here might be doing a bodyweight squat, and this client might be doing a rear foot elevated split squat. But you're able to kind of monitor that and coach instead of just focusing, on one client per 1 hour and just sitting there and kind of shooting the breeze. I think we've kind of realized in this industry that you don't necessarily need an hour for one person unless there's some sort of like major risk factor, like they're in a wheelchair or some major injuries. You can really effectively take your time and spread it out over a few people and really maximize what you can do and who you can affect. And lastly, down at the bottom, the tools needed is just kind of like, hey, if you're going to be doing this, this is probably what you need. You're going to need some sort of roller, super band, med ball, bucket, and jump rope for this specific workout. And then in the bottom right, you have what phase you're in and the workout. So this is workout 1 of 3. So that's the template. Again, I don't see any questions if they're in there, but feel free to start tacking them on, and we can definitely get to them here at the end. I'll cover these 3 or 4 topics that I have here. This should be pretty quick. We have the Spartan Education Summit, which is actually really cool. That's going to be held in San Diego this year. And the information, all of the links for the registration and the dates and all the other stuff will be in the upcoming newsletter that we'll send out. And I'll talk about the newsletter here shortly. But this Spartan Education Summit, all the puzzle pieces are kind of laying on a desk. So we don't have like 100% of the details put together, but we know enough that it's going to be awesome. It's going to be exciting. So anybody who can make it out, it'll be awesome. It's going to be a hands-on event. We're going to focus on movement mastery, which really applies to the programming phase. So how to go through, how to progress, how to regress, how to assess, how to break down the exercises, and then we're going to have a few topics and keynote speakers to really dig into some of the fun stuff, whether that be running economy or how to periodize properly or anything like that. So we'll definitely have some more information to come, but just know that it is happening. The dates are confirmed, the location's confirmed, and there's also going to be a race. So anybody who does register for our course, the race will be included. So make sure you don't register for both. But that'll be an exciting thing, and we'll be able to hopefully run as a team, or unless somebody wants to run in the elite heat, then by all means, go for it. So that's the Spartan Education Summit, so feel free to question away or add some feedback. We're excited here. I will say that it is in January, and I understand that that's a tough time for a lot of coaches in the industry. It just so happened to be the time that we locked down. In the future, I'm hoping to change that to a little bit more of a dead time where it makes sense and people can get out and travel and do this kind of fun stuff where we get together as a community and learn. The next subject is the content creation opportunity. So, one thing that I'm sure you guys are all aware of is we have this amazing content team actually located here in Boston. They're on the 4th floor, and it's a big team, and they're an absolute powerhouse. And we're constantly pushing out content to racers, whether it be for nutrition, lifestyle. Joe has a big hand in that. How to live like a Spartan, and especially exercise content. And I want to explain the difference between, our deep-rooted content that we like to give out and our superficial content. Because as you guys know, there's a lot of content you'll see out there where it's like, that may not be SGX related, or I don't know if I would push that to clients. And it's important to understand that that's more or less the superficial fun stuff to get engaged on social media and whatnot. But on the back end, we have a lot of great content underneath that with our programs that we hand out. And we sell programs, we give programs for free. We have a bodyweight training plan for people to get involved. We have a sprint program for people to get involved, a mountain program. That said, we have this entire base of SGX coaches that I think it would be great to get involved in. We're going to be pushing this 10-minute workout concept here in the future, and I thought it made the most sense to reach out to you guys and get the content straight from you. So again, all of this will be explained in further detail in the newsletter, which will be coming out here in the first or second, I think the second week of July we decided on after the New Year or after the Independence Day. But there's going to be 3 submission forms that'll be handed out. One will be for a 10 anywhere workout concept, one will be for a tough 10, and then one will be for our weekend challenge series. So this will all be stuff that we're pushing out on social and email and through our websites. But it's opportunity for you guys to kind of create the workouts and get your name out there and definitely feature yourself. So I thought that would be cool. So submission forms will be coming. So I think it would be awesome if you guys wanted to just plow ahead and just start putting those workouts in. And obviously each workout will have its instructions on what we're looking for. They're pretty much in the name, which I tried to make it super easy. So Tough 10 is like a 10-minute workout that it doesn't have to be limited to body weight, but it's meant to be a crusher. Obviously within within what makes sense. The 10 anywhere is kind of the same, but it's designed to be done anywhere. So it's like if you have 10 minutes, what can you do like at your house, at the office, out in the woods? It's more catered toward body weight or light modalities like bands and med balls and stuff like that. And then obviously the weekend challenge is going to be, for me, the most exciting is like an actual challenge. So, you know, how many reps can you do in this amount of time, or how many rounds can you do, or yada, yada, yada. And, you know, we hope to get out to the audience and challenge people and have people retort back and say, I did this many, and really get the community engaged. So again, this is just being a little bit more proactive and setting it up. So as far as when it'll be released or when we'll go to the market, that's yet to be decided, but it'd be better to have a stockpile ready to rock and roll, and we can get things moving. So that's an exciting opportunity. The next thing is the on-site activation opportunities. So, you know, obviously Spartan is everywhere and everything. We've got activations literally from expos to on-site activations with the coaching zone and the coached heat, and workouts for corporate partners all throughout the country, even all throughout the world, where you know, these things just kind of come out of left field, and it's like, hey, we need a coach to run Rakuten through a workout, which I know was a recent activation. And you know, it was just a cool opportunity. It's a great way to get involved. It's a great way to earn some extra income and just, you know, be a part of the community. So one thing I wanted to chat about quickly, I know we're getting closer to the buzzer, but the coaching zone has been a huge activation. We've really put a lot of time into, and I specifically have gone on site to see how it works and what makes the most sense. And I feel like we've got a really good product out there now that, one, affects racers in a way that we've never been able to do before. We've always been able to, you know, affect racers in small numbers, like the coached heat is a great example, but with the coaching zone, we're able to affect hundreds, if not thousands of racers on any given day. And, you know, the feedback I get, especially from the coaches who have actually done it and seen it, I've done it myself on 3 races. You know, you just by teaching these small little techniques like the J hook, for instance, or, you know, how to pick up the Atlas stone with your knee, which, by the way, Sid, I learned from you. Thank you very much. But, you know, all that small stuff is just such a game changer out on race on the course. And these people come back and they're like, wow, I can't believe it. And I've even had people come back to me and say, I did what you taught me, and God, it made such a difference. So the coaching zone has been a huge initiative, and I'm just happy to say that it's been successful. And I thank all you guys for being a part of it. And if you haven't yet, get out there and definitely swing by and see it if you can't volunteer. But in 2020, we're looking to make that more of a paid activation. I know it's a little bit more of a volunteer basis now, but we're just still working things out, working out the kinks. So the other on-site activations is obviously we have expos and other stuff. So just keep an eye out for that. I primarily use the Facebook page as a way to communicate that. So if you're not on there, I would definitely encourage you to get on there, or if you have to create an account, go ahead and do that. Just to get in the inside. It's just the best way to do it. Email is really difficult. The next thing is the newsletter. So I believe this is the last slide I have. Let me just double check. Yes, it is. Cool. So the newsletter. So it's something we've always done. We're just getting a little bit more of a cadence going, and we're looking at the first quarter, or the first month of every quarter. So July will be the start here of Q3. So it'll fall right in line with the programs. And the idea is to really keep the community together, and definitely these calls will be a great way to do that as well. But, you know, we want to be able to get you guys firsthand knowledge, like, you know, any new partnerships that are coming up in the wing. You know, the sponsorship team is constantly setting up new sponsorships, and, you know, we definitely make SGX specific codes and activations, because you guys are, you know, probably the best way to get this stuff out to the market and see if it works, if you like it, if it makes sense, if it doesn't. So that's, you know, some stuff. We got some great power system stuff that it's good to highlight. Any activations we're doing, programming. It's just basically going to be the way we communicate the State of the Union, what's going on. So definitely pay attention to those. We just send that out based on the email you have on your certification. If that needs to change, make sure you update your information, or reach out to sgx@spartan.com with an active email address. That way you get them. If you ever don't get them, just, you know, again, feel free to reach out to sgx@spartan.com. That was a lot. So that's all I got. Let me just go ahead and get back to the screen here and see what we're looking at. Cool. All I saw was white for a bit. Let my eyes readjust. Let's see where these questions started. Mark, so the first question I see here is Mark with the videos. So for the first round, I made videos, and I'm happy to do it again. We filmed an exercise library in New York, and we're still trying to edit some of them. The videos are more geared toward a general consumer, but I think it's still a great way, just because we all call something a little bit differently. So somebody might call it a hip bridge, somebody might call it a hip lift, and sometimes it's just good to see a video to make sure. So as those come out and as we get those edited, I'll be sure to share them with you. But feel free, reach out to me if there's a specific one where you're like, hey, what the heck is this? I'm happy to do a quick demonstration video and get it out to you. I just had a generic YouTube page, by the way, so all of the other, it covers a pretty wide range of exercises from warm-up, so feel free to jump on there. That was sent out in the first round, and those are still live, so feel free to jump on those and see those. They're labeled by exercise.
Yeah, let me just add to that too, Sam. All the content that Sam's been creating, like the last quarter's workouts, they can actually be found in the coaches team room, that Google shared folder that where all your perks and these programs are located. So when you got certified, there was a link that said the coaches team room. So you might have to dig that up and find that. But these workouts will be in there. I don't remember if I put the videos in there, but I'll make sure I do that as part of this one too. So that's where you can find all the previous stuff. Yeah,
good point. And by the way, so the Spartan Education Summit, that will be where we highlight our entire exercise library. So, a good 60 to 70% of that will be focused on digging into the exercise library, how to progress, how to regress, and really digging into what do you want to see out of a hip stretch, or, how do you do these more ballistic ladder drills, med ball work and ladder drills and all the other stuff. But yeah, definitely good point. And as far as a running exercise library, that's what I guess I was referring to, is we do have that. It's still being edited and worked out. So as soon as that's up and running, I'll be sure to get that over in some sort of template or form. I think that's most of the. Does anybody have any other? I think burpees at the office. Definitely a good one. You won't find many people at the office doing burpees unless Joe's walking by, but that's always a fun one. Burpees at the office is a weekend challenge.
Sam, do you have the date of the summit?
Yeah, so the date I believe is January 3rd through the 5th, and that will all will be covered on the newsletter. So I'll be sure to make sure that that's really bolded so you can see the exact dates. And I want to make sure that the other dates are highlighted, because it's a whole, there's a lot going on that weekend, right? We have our course, we have the race, we're doing some sort of leadership cruise. The pieces are still slowly coming together, back to my reference of puzzle pieces on a desk. But yeah, I think right now we're looking at January 3rd through the 5th. So it's a 3-day, our course specifically is a 3-day course with speakers and hands-on, and right now, the registration will be in the newsletter, and there's an early bird rate. So if you can make it out, or if you're local, you're going to want to take advantage. And then as we move through, probably the next call we do, we'll have all the details finalized, and we'll be able to give a really good rundown of what to expect, what it's about, and how to get involved. Rob, that would be a great idea. So HW stands for HQ. I think that would be awesome. Definitely not too many takers on that.
That kettlebell should just be passed around the office, and whoever gets it has to have it for the day.
I agree. We have this beautiful Spartan casted kettlebell. It's a doorstop. I actually used it for a few photos, but that might end up somewhere else. I might replace that one with a different nonchalant kettlebell. Actually, another great thing, if anybody is in the Boston area, we did just do a huge activation at the Seaport area. It's called the Seaport Sweat Workout. Andy Hardy actually ran that one, and a lot of you guys know that name or have met her personally. She's been here it's probably since day one, but she kicked ass. It was 200 plus people out there. Beautiful day. We got a few more of those. So if you are a Boston coach, we are going to be looking for a ton of volunteers for that, especially for September 7th. That'll be the weekend before Killington. We're going to be doing a short course activation in the city. So it'll be the first one we've ever done in Boston, in Seaport. So that'll be really cool. So be sure to check that out. Photos are coming out too. It was just, it was a great event.
All right, well, I don't see too many more questions coming in, Sam, so I guess we could call it. So just a heads up, Sam, I'm going to need your help on this a little bit. I did start the recording a little bit late, so I'm going to have to re-record my piece, Sam.
That's okay.
You're probably your first 3 slides before you actually got to the program template. If you could just record that piece too and send it to me, and then I'll put them all together and then have just one video. So sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries, for sure. I've done that a few times where I forget to hit that beautiful red button. And then real quick, Jessica, I saw your question. Is it possible to have coaches' room Google Docs consolidated on one program with SGX content? We are, I think Docebo right now is the platform we're using, but we are definitely looking at ways to centralize data. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully we'll have some good answers in the coming months. But yeah, other than that, I think this is good. We'll get the recording out. So thanks for everybody who tuned in. And I look forward to doing these in the future. It's such an awesome community to be a part of. So I'm stoked.
Aru.
Aru, everybody.